you were asking about the EF literacy, and you were sort of calling it as well EF culture. And I think that what introducing EF literacy does is that as everyone's learning about their executive functioning, the teachers are learning about theirs, they gain an understanding, but it also affords them the opportunity to do things like, when a child is behaving in a strange way, which in elementary school happens quite a lot. And what we sort of suggest that teachers do is take a second. Instead of jumping in to save, jumping in to go, hey, stop that. Of course, unless it's dangerous, then that's a totally different reaction. But it's like you take a breath in and you ask yourself in your head, as you breathe in, why? And as you breathe out, is he doing that? Or are they doing that, right? And first of all, it interrupts you as a teacher so that you're not hot on that quick response. It gives you a moment to really watch and observe your students. And there's a subtle difference between observation in a sort of a very positive classroom, instead of, oh, everyone, Nicole is already sitting down. Well done, Nicole. Instead of that, it's, I see one person sitting. Isn't that one? Oh my goodness, now I see two. Oh, good grief. There are 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people are sitting at this. It's that kind of thing. Obviously, you're not going to do that in a.
So it becomes then like the community is working towards
exactly.
this.
And the community is working together. But when you work in that sort of anonymous but really positive, you sort of observe loudly. We like to say observe loudly and positively, right? But it's when you interrupt yourself to take that breath, you can start saying to yourself, am I seeing an organizational problem? Am I seeing a task initiation problem? Why hasn't Ryan started his math work? He's sitting in the back of the classroom. He's mucking about with his pencil. Everybody else has started. Why hasn't he? And instead of saying to him, Ryan, love, have you started? Instead of that, which is actually, it's obvious, no, Ryan has not started. You're actually giving yourself that opportunity to observe him for a few seconds to see what can you see? Does he not know? Does he not know what to do? Does he not want to do it?
Which could be the case. He could have forgotten what he was supposed to do.
Absolutely.
He could have not started paying attention. Yeah, he could have missed the first 3 instructions, and now he's like, oh, man, I don't know what the heck's going on. I'm just going to hang out with my eraser here.
Yeah. Is it a sustained attention?
And I think that pausing and the breath also, I talk a lot about changing your perspective as the parent, teacher, caretaker. The power of changing your perspective when you're trying to look at a problem or solve a problem or help a struggle, which is along the line, different words, right?
Absolutely. No, but it's the same thing.
All of a sudden, now if I'm looking, okay, what executive functioning skills are they doing? So a lot of times I'll come into the classroom and then, the concern is little Johnny can't start their work. And they're in the back of the classroom and they're not paying attention and they're being lazy because I know they did it last week. So all of a sudden that taking a breath can help change the perspective to, okay. And then if you have all this information on executive functioning skills, now you have words other than lazy or trying to be crazy or doesn't care to fill in the blanks. So the changing of a perspective is no longer like, oh, they just don't care or they're lazy. It's like, okay, which one of these skills are they struggling with? And then how can we support those skills? And it's a win again for everybody. It's a win for the teacher because now it's not like a behavior problem. And now it's how can we scaffold this so that the child get it? You know, a lot of what we did in our coaching program was talk about scaffolding.
Absolutely.
So, and there's still a lot of misconceptions about that in the real classroom, right? Yes. They don't, you know, it's not something that's common. It's at people's fingertips. So they don't really use it because they can't. So that's why this is a great reason. I love the executive function literacy, executive function and culture, because it just brings it together as a group, and as a group, they are learning about it. And you know, you guys basically gave us the manual, like the step-by-step.
Thank you.
So I wanted to, you know, recap. We talked about executive functioning, culture, literacy, how important that is. We talked about executive functioning in the classroom supports the kids that are struggling. It supports all the kids. But, you know, probably if you're watching this, you're a teacher. More importantly, it's going to support you, teachers,
absolutely, in
your classroom, so that you can hit all the bazillion markers and pacing guides you have to do based on the county or, you know, your administration. This is kind of like a different route to get there. And probably, you know, hopefully it will be soon, but not the most popular route, right, to get there. But this is probably going to get you to your end goals faster with your kids than maybe some of the other things that you're trying. So you have a one quick takeaway, Carol, for everybody? And then we're going to do, don't leave the video because we're going to do a quick lightning round. Okay. I'm going to ask a bunch of quick, fast questions. So yeah, so I love that. I love that we talked about changing the perspective, the deep breath. I forgot to mention that. That was very powerful. And I think like the next step is, I always like to talk about now what. I think we embedded lots of great tips throughout this interview. But I would definitely recommend to get this book to help you start maybe a book club in your school. I do professional development workshops, and executive functioning is one of my topics, but this is a great resource to start with. So Carol, I don't know if you want to add anything else. Let everybody know where they can find you, if they want to reach out, if they want to ask you questions, if they want your help coaching or.
Well, I have my own little, it's very small little coaching company, and I see clients in the afternoon. I work with mainly middle schoolers, high schoolers, college age, and adults. And my coaching company is called Mulberry Coaching. And so my email is carol@mulberrycoaching.com.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a quick little lightning round. So what is your favorite, besides your book, of course, favorite resource book you have for anybody out there that wants to learn more about executive functionings for the classroom or for their own students or their own children? One, I see you have a lot of books back there.
I think I use this quite a lot, but I you know, I can't. Can I have two?
You can have two, fine.
Because as you can see, I use this a lot.
That's what mine looks like too. I have tabs and Post-its, and
I love these people.
It's such a great resource.
This is one of my favorites. I love Margaret Sibley.
Okay, I haven't even heard of that one before.
So she does a great job. She has a slightly different take on the coaching process. So I don't use all of her stuff, but some of her stuff I use, and I love it.
And you like that as a resource for parents and for teachers and anybody, or?
I would say that would be for coaches.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the first one for parents and coaches and teachers.
Gotcha. Okay, so the stuff that we just talked about today and the stuff that was in your book, is it really beneficial only for special ed teachers or, you know, any of the extra support teachers, or would it be helpful maybe for a general ed teacher? What do you think?
It's definitely helpful for everybody in that group. And if I was a general ed teacher, that's the book. And I was interested in it, in executive functioning. That's a great resource. Even if I say it myself, that's a great resource.
How about if you weren't interested in executive functioning, or you didn't know you were interested in executive functionings, but you were just interested in really helping your students and maybe having your class behave better, have higher academic markers?
Oh, I think that would be a great resource for that too. I think that that everybody expects when the executive functioning starts to improve that the grades are going to be hitting it out the ballpark. That doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen really super fast, but it will happen. Because if you think about it, my kid isn't getting the A that we all want him to get because he's not turning in the homework. He turns in the homework, he gets the A, right? So it's like,
yeah,
if you can teach somebody the steps on how to turn in the homework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next quick question about how long does this take? How fast can we fix these skills?
It's not a matter of fixing the skills. It's a matter
How
of,
fast can I get my kids to turn in their homework?
well, it depends on what you're doing, and it depends on how. If you're working in the classroom, you can slowly start to introduce a different kind of culture into the classroom by talking about executive function skills, and it will be a slow but steady move to a different environment where everybody starts talking about executive functioning in a different way. At the moment, there's not a lot of classrooms that are doing that. There are, which is marvelous.
And I think one important thing to add, which I could ask you, how long should a teacher introduce this EF culture in her classroom? And I think the answer is going to be the whole school year.
The whole school year.
It's because it's embedded. It's embedded into and weaved into the classroom.
Right? Absolutely. It's like it's like when they discovered that doing the SEL program or doing the kindness program, that if you do it once a month, then you're going to see a lot of kindness on the Friday that you had the kind the kind assembly. Exactly. And then you'll see lots of kindness on that Friday, and then everyone just goes back to normal behavior and expectations. But those kinds of programs need to be embedded throughout the school culture.
Yeah.
It needs to become part of the ethos of the school. It needs to become how everybody treats one another every day. And your executive functioning is exactly the same. You need to be able to support everybody's executive functions in that same way on a day-to-day basis. You need to recognize it, be empathic about it, and support it.
And I think the power of this, what we're talking about today, being in the classroom, is that, the classroom and academics are not the only place that executive functioning skills function, right? It's not the only place we need executive functioning skills to be successful. However, because we're constantly measuring in an academic setting, it's a very concrete place for struggles to show up, right? If you have 10 missing homework assignments, if you turned in these things late, it's a very concrete place to measure where things are falling through the crack. Whereas in life, we're not measured that hard. You're a kid. You don't have all these standards and assessments. So, but I do think a lot of the principles, I was thinking about this after, some of the principles that were in here, a parent could definitely use.
Oh, absolutely.
This would be like a gold mine for a parent to use. So just like a lot of the resources we have there for parents, or a lot of times when I speak about parents, I say, oh, but teachers can also do this. This one is vice versa. This is specifically for the classroom and for teachers, but it would be so great to have parents embed this into their parenting skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So with that, my friend Carol, we made it. We did it. I thank you so much.
No, thank you, Nicole. It's very kind of you.